Easter holiday, but we are back, and we are back with our guest, Mr. Rose Alexander, who spoke to us the other week with quite some motivational nuggets. Today, he's going to talk about mindset. His topic is mindset is everything. Mr. Rose Alexander, I'm handing over the platform to you. Take us on. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate y'all having me back, and I know I'll be back a few more times, and I really look forward to talking with you guys. I hope y'all had a great Easter. It was nice over here, relaxing. But yeah, let me just jump into it. And the first time I spoke with you guys, we talked about transfer. I know the theme is transformation, and we talked about manifestation last time. And I think a lot of times I got some questions, or one question in particular was like, how will the Almighty, or how will God know that we're not faking it till we make it, type of thing, and kind of go from there. And I thought that question has really been. I thought about the question all week, to be honest, and so of course I prepared. And then last week, like I said, we didn't have it, and it gave me an opportunity to kind of brew on that question a little bit more. And my thing was like, you know what, we're discussing about how the way you think and so forth, and I was like, well, hey, it's manifestations are really a mindset, right? And when you go into that mindset, in order to manifest, we talk about believing. But if we don't believe, a lot of times that's up here in our head, right? Like we talk about our heart, but these work simultaneously together in a sense, because part of manifestation, we do manifest something. I think I brought up the fact with Diana Ross, the great performer from the 60s to the 90s, how she said doubt will creep in just as fast as a positive thought, and it's what she gave more attention to. So I really want to focus on today's message being about mindset. And you guys, I've been part of, I was raised Catholic, and I was definitely big into church when my younger years. Of course, I strayed during my young adult years and so forth. And one thing that I always realize is every time I strayed, like life is hard, right? But it was always a mindset. Every time I needed something, God has always provided, and God puts us through seasons that we need to have. I had a football coach, and I mean American football, not football that the rest of the world, but American football in high school. And he said, God will give you no more than you could handle. That was one thing he would say. Another thing he would say is, you will pass out before something bad happens to you. So that was because they would condition us so hard and everything. And in Texas, football is a way of life. Like I said, Americanized football. But guys, as far as where scripture goes, through mindset, I found so many verses in the Bible, and I'm like, wow, like what can I choose? And I really want to narrow it down to three, And so the first one I'm going to discuss is Romans 12:2, right? And it says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the power of your mind." And the reason why I want to shoot that one out there was because y'all's theme is transformation. And my subject I'm talking about today is mindset. And the fact that both of these were in one little passage, it spoke to me automatically. And I put that as number one to talk about. When you want to transform in any particular facet of your life, you have to change your mindset. If y'all guys have ever prepped for a presentation, for some sort of recital, for a game, for a competitive sport, for anything, you sit there and you try to get your mind into a different place, into a different lane and an avenue. And that's the same thing you want to do, whether it's a spiritual battle, an emotional battle, something going on with life, something you want to change about yourself, right? A lot of times here in America, when people talk about changing things, they want it to be in an image way, because we grow up in a world, hence pattern of the world. And in my passage over in Romans 12:2, pattern of the world. And that's a great way to bring everything together, but that's also, to me, a very vain way to look at things, right? Because one thing is, we should be taking care of our body regardless. Our body is our temple. right? And the way you take care of your body is the way you're going to conduct yourself through the rest of your life with anything on any aspect. So just want to think about that. In order to transform yourself, you have to transform your mindset. Don't conform to the pattern of the world. I gave a speech to a group of young ladies and gentlemen last week about their life. And I'm not going to say they're troubled kids, but, they've definitely made some decisions to put them in the place they're in right now. And what I talked about, because I was easily one of those children. When I was a teenager, I was arrested multiple times for vandalism and assault. Then I realized I didn't want to be in that lifestyle, because my dad and my mom were not those type of people. Now, with that being said, in their younger lives, they definitely, if you would have that they had a fuse about this big, both of them, and they both had a reputation. By the time my brother came along, it wasn't that way. Maybe it was a generational curse that kind of came down that way as far as how my temper would flare. But I knew I didn't want to live that lifestyle. I knew I didn't want to even attempt that. So I said, I don't want to play with that. So with that being said, I could have made some different decisions to put me there in a school that way. But what I was talking to those individuals about is conformity, and to those young men and women, because they, in a sense, will make certain decisions based on their frustrations, because really they're not conforming to what the Western society wants them to act in a public school setting. And so what I discussed with them more about was saying, y'all guys are individuals. Don't conform. It's okay to be individuals. A lot of times, certain groups want you to be like them, have a collective like mindset, and it's okay not to have that. The thing is, what are you going to do with that? Are you going to get frustrated and lash out? And typically that's why a lot of them are there. They lash out. And I told them, don't prove people right. It doesn't matter what your economic background is, where you come from, who your family is. What I mean by proving people right is, a lot of times there are people that are betting against you. They'll find a way to trigger you. They'll find a way to kind of push you away, and they're just waiting for you to blow up. What I discuss with these kids is saying, why are you going to prove anybody right that doesn't care about you? And to be honest, you probably don't care about them. So focus on you, because when it's all said and done, I told them, y'all are all teenagers right now. Y'all are all teenagers, and everybody in this room wants you to be successful and do right by your life. But the older you get, you're going to find out, especially once you're on your own, the world does not care about you. Those in your life will go on to live their lives. And the only person there for you is you. Now, of course, I did bring up God. I brought up a Bible verse and discussed that with them. And the fact is how zoned in they were when I was talking about this, how quiet they all were. Because once they found that this guy talking to them isn't some guy that was, fed a silver spoon, but a guy that related to them. And that, I will be honest, not only related to them, but I wasn't intimidated by them, because I was one of those kids at one time. I was telling them what I told you last week. Are you going to be an excuse or a testimony? Are you going to let what life has given you and say, I blame everything that why my life is not going the way it is? Or am I going to testify against that and say, I've done this and this is where I'm at now? And I've made something of myself, and I want to push all of you out there saying, yes, you can do that without having to conform. That's why 12:2 stuck out to me so much, because when I was young, I had to change my mindset, saying, you know what? No. I am mad. I am angry. My father's in a wheelchair. My mother works 16 hours a day. I am angry, but how can I change my mindset? And like I said, I put myself around people that would help me change that mindset. I'm going on to my second verse today, Proverbs 4:23. Be careful how you think. Your life is shaped by your thoughts. Be careful how you think. Your life is shaped by your thoughts. Like I said, guys, what you say brings life. What you think brings life if you say it. What you think will bring life if you say it. So you definitely don't want to be able to put yourself in a position to say something special, believe it. And the verse I talked to those kids about last week was Proverbs 18:21. Right? Proverbs 18:21 says, "Life and death are in the power of your tongue. What you speak, you become." Right? Life and death, and this is that was from a like I think that was from a different Bible, but to sum it down, life and death are in the power of the tongue, and think and you. I'm sorry, my scratches, chicken scratches. Life and death are in the power of the tongue, and what becomes when you shall fall in love with it, you will eat. All right. So you fall in love with it means you believe what you speak, and the fruit that bears from it is going to be what you speak, whether it's going to be rotten fruit or sweet fruit. You see where I'm coming from? So I love the Proverbs 18:21 because I'm gonna be really honest, I didn't even know about that verse growing up, and I wish it was spoken to me. And I wish it was pushed onto me. Proverbs 18:21. So when you have Proverbs 4:23, where it says, "Be careful how you think; your life is shaped by your thoughts." Guys, all that's saying is we have seen all of these self-help shows and read these books, and they're telling all of us this stuff. They're telling it. Where do you think it got this from? The Bible. And I'm learning that more and more in my spiritual journey. I'm like, wow. The fact that you could go into the Bible and you could literally say, "I'm looking for this," and something pops up in the oldest, most printed book in American human history. Everything is in there. But be careful what you think. So what am I trying to tell you? Change your mindset. If you're a glass half empty type of person, your life is going to be half empty, and you're always going to be frustrated. You've got to change that mindset. I'm going to give you all some steps a little bit how to work on changing that. I want to finish off with what I'm saying through verses is Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for. Faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the convictions of things not seen. And that's just something that we're brought up about, especially if you grow up in a religious home, a home that believes in God or entities or so forth. But you have to have faith. Just like I think I talked about a few weeks ago, you see a child, you tell a child to jump off of a box 5 feet high or off the stairs, and they have that childlike faith that you will catch them. You still have to have that faith that God has your back. Have that faith that you could be able to transform yourself and to get what you need, but you have to change the mindset. Like I said, the mindset is part of manifestation. If you cannot manifest stuff, it's because you're probably not believing in what you're trying to accomplish. Change your mindset. Guys, our mindset is influenced by our childhood, experiences, and traumas in our childhood. And that plays a crucial role with how we think and live the rest of our lives. So what you want to kind of go through is like, how was my childhood? You need to sit back and think. I'll be honest, I went through a communication session a few years ago, right? I was like, okay, my life is like every other kid's, right? It wasn't. By the end of that communication session, I felt so heavy and so emotional. The fact that, especially when the person I was talking to said, "Man, that is not your typical way of upbringing." I was like, man. And what I used my whole life was the fact that I would put a smile on my face, and I would say everything is great. But behind that smile, man, I had a lot of things going on. When I was in high school, my brother and I would do sports, and my mother would be working at 16-hour shifts, and my father was paralyzed in a wheelchair, and I would be the one to come home to cook dinner for us about 6:30 in the evening. And most of the time, me and my brother were walking about 3 miles to home, 2 and 3 miles home, no matter what the weather was like. Now, as we got older, we were able to find some friends that would drop us off as we all started kind of driving and so forth. We still couldn't afford a car, so we'd have friends drop us off, but I was there making sure that my brother, myself, and my father ate while my mom was at work. And I had a lot on my plate. My father used to go into seizures, and I remember starting at 6 years old, I would have to hold him down and make sure he didn't swallow his tongue. My brother didn't do it at the time as much that I remember, but I think even if he tried to jump in, I wouldn't allow him just because I was the older twin. I wanted to make sure, hey, no, I wanted to protect him. I'm not saying he wasn't capable of doing that. It was just something myself. I want to protect my brother as long as protecting my father. And so there were things in life that I was like, just as a child, we're so adaptable. But as we get older, we realize that a lot of these traumas and experiences in life make us, not make us, but help with our growth and how we conduct ourselves as individuals. But one way I learned how to cope was to always put a smile on my face so nobody ever saw that, I was in distress of any kind. So, but with that being said, what it means is you have to have a mindset in order to have faith. And that's what Hebrews 11:1 stood out to me was now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. If you don't have the mindset to have faith in something else that you can't see, how could you have a mindset to have faith within yourself? Now, guys, I want to go ahead and give you some steps that I've worked on, and I want you to kind of work on as far as with the shift of your mindset. One of it is self-awareness. I'm going to be honest. I had something earlier on today, right? Like I asked my wife, "Hey, let's go get lunch." Well, I'm kind of throwing some meat out right now. Let's save a little bit of money. And I was like, oh man, I got a little frustrated because I was like, man, she said this weekend she likes going to this place, and my son's in school, and we just kind of go have a little date. So I got a little flustered myself. And as I was getting flustered and frustrated, and I'm reading the notes that I took for today's session, she goes upstairs and takes a shower, and I'm like, hold on, man. Like I'm gonna be talking to these people at Zimworx about self-awareness, and I'm over here not being self-aware of my own attitude, right? It's because we're all human. So I sent her a text while she was upstairs. Said, "I'm sorry for getting frustrated. You mentioned this weekend how much you like the place, and I just thought that'd be a nice little thing for us to kind of go on a day." Of course, she came out. She's like, "Oh yes, let's go. I do kind of want them to go there. We'll just freeze. We'll just cook the meat and put in the freezer. You know." And that completely changed the mood of the day, guys. Trust me. As a husband, I've been there. I think as spouses, we've all been there where something that small can kind of change the mood of the entire day. And you, to be honest, will stay in a certain mood just because of that little frustration. And then you start getting prideful, and then nobody gives her at all, right? I literally was self-aware and just changed my attitude. Said, "Hey, I'm sorry. If you just want to stay here, it's fine." And she's like, "Oh, I did mention that this weekend, and that's very sweet of you to think about that. So we go out to lunch. I'm sorry too." Right. So be self-aware of if you have certain shifts in mood that well, hey, this typically is going to take me down this direction today. Like, let me go ahead and shift this around. And your body also releases energy. Of course, now you have negative thoughts versus the positive thoughts. And I told you about what you want to give what you want to give attention to. Number 2, cling to scripture, daily affirmation, prayer, and meditation. Daily. Read a little something from the Bible or a Bible app. Then you're going to have your self-affirmations. I have my affirmations I say to myself every single day. It takes about a minute after I read a few verses. Then, of course, I'm going to pray at night. Right, I give a little prayer after my affirmations. It's real small, but I do the majority of my praying at night. That's just me. That's how I fall asleep at night. And then I will meditate after my affirmations. I do give myself some meditation. I'll put on like a frequency, like a 432 hertz frequency, which is a great frequency to listen to. 432 hertz frequency. I meditate about 5 minutes. Just relax, and I go from there. I do that daily. Okay, so definitely cling to that. Number 3 is be patient. Guys, just be patient. And I think other parts of the world are better about being patient than Americans are. We want things right then and there and now. Rome was not built in a day. Just be patient and just keep on saying it'll come in there. Just keep on saying the affirmations, saying the prayers, read the scriptures, do whatever you want to fulfill in life, and then all of that positivity, that way of thinking, will have you do things to get you to where you want to be at. Right. I heard a little interview a few years ago of how a gentleman had made like a shadow box, and he had put down the home he wanted to live in and the area of the country he wanted to live in, and where he wanted his kids to go to school and everything. And he hung it in the corner of his room. He said he really didn't pay any mind to it. And then about 5 years later, he's working, and he just happened to look in the corner of the room. Like no joke. He said he just looked in the corner of the room, and he said, "Hold on, that house is this house I'm living in now. My kids are going to that school. We're living in this part of the country." He paid no mind to the box, but the shadow box still gave some sort of power to where subconsciously he was looking at it every single day. And he was giving himself affirmations apart from that. But when he sat and said, hold on, well, there's my plan. That's my map. I'm here now. I'm here now. Just be patient. Okay. I'm going to tell y'all one more story before I conclude. I don't know in Zimbabwe if y'all guys are wrestling fans or watch professional wrestling or WWE or any of that stuff. Last night was WrestleMania, and you had a 2-night main event that consisted of the Bloodline with Roman Reigns and The Rock, and then of course you had Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins and Jey Uso and all them. Last night was amazing, right? It was like the end of Cody Rhodes' story, right? Like, he didn't make it last year. Cody Rhodes retained the title, but I knew when I watched it last year, it's going to make the story that much bigger. Because when he comes and when he wins next year in 2024, it's going to be humongous. I don't know if you watch it or not, man, but yeah, this never happens, especially in WWE. Never happens. Wrestlers came down to the ring and lifted him up because The Rock came in and said, hey, I'm going to kind of make a change. Of course, Triple H was like, yeah, I think we can make a change. But they listened to social media. And as soon as they figured The Rock was going to wrestle his cousin, social media went crazy. No, we want Cody to finish his story. We want him to watch him be able to be a champion because his father never held it. His brother never held it. He's from this wrestling family. Anyways, he wins last night. But and now he has a new chapter where he's going to go off and go. But this is the story that gets him to where he was at last night. Okay. One, I was honored to meet Cody Rhodes, and when I worked for JW, here's a side story. When I worked for JW Oliver at Gold's Gym here in Texas, WWE had a live event. It wasn't televised. It was a live event, what they call dark matches. And I was working on a Saturday afternoon, and I see Cody Rhodes come in, and I see another wrestler. Her name was Layla at the time. She hadn't been around for a while, but she comes in. So he signs his little waiver in. I say, hey, man, have a good workout. There's like 3 other people in the gym that day. It was a slow Saturday. Anyways, he comes and gets a smoothie before he heads out, and I'm making him a smoothie. And then I just start talking. I was like, hey, man, my dad and myself watched your dad growing up. I'm a big fan of your brother. I've been loving your work. I love the Dashing Cody Rhodes story right now. And he's, I appreciate that. Then he said this. Real nice guy. He said, what time you get off? I was like, I get off about 6. He said, if I were to give you tickets, how many would you need? I was like, just 2. He said, okay, give me your ID number. I'm going to take that, and you're going to have 2 tickets waiting for you when you come to the event tonight. I go to the stadium. I give them my driver's license. They say, welcome, Mr. Alexander. He got tickets for me in the 12th row. And I don't know if y'all guys ever been to like a boxing event or a wrestling event or heck, even a basketball games. But they make the auditorium seem a lot bigger on TV, but the 12th row is super close. Like, I was like, wow. And he was I took a picture with him. Great guy. We sat and talked about 20 minutes before he left. I've always been a fan of him. So with that being said, Cody Rhodes is always what you call a low card to a mid card. He was never, he won like an Intercontinental Championship, and he won like some tag team championships with his brother, but he was never going to be looked at as the guy. And he was promised at least 6 figures. I mean, 6 figures. He was promised like $100,000 to like $700,000 a year. Like, man, like to many of us, we're like, hey, we'll take that. This is what Cody Rhodes did. He said, no, my father is Dusty Rhodes, right? Like, this is what I want to achieve in my lifetime. He did not sign the contract that WWE offered him. He left the lights and the cameras and the attention he was getting, and he said, I'm not coming back. The very next week, I remember I saw him on TV. He was at like a high school gymnasium wrestling in front of less than 100 people. And that's where he started. He literally, people go the other direction. They start in the independents to get to there, no matter where they're sitting at. And he said, I'm leaving the guarantee. I'm leaving the guarantee because I know I have something better than this. And he shifted his mind from saying, man, take the guarantee. He's, no, I'm going to go into the unknown. I believe in myself. I'm putting everything on myself. He goes to independence. He starts going to the smaller circuits. Then he ends up in Japan. Japan is huge in professional wrestling. Then he joins one of the biggest factions in the world. Then he goes and makes his own promotion, AEW, which is the second largest promotion in America right now. They're the ones giving, if you're not in WWE, you're in AEW making big money. He goes and he helps develop that and build it. And he's one of the main creators. He is one of the top honchos. Then he gets a phone call from the big man at the time, Vince McMahon. He gets a phone call from him and says, "We would like to have a conversation. I'm sending you my check." Now, at this time in the industry, guys, if you're in WWE, you do what they tell you. They'll change your name. They write your scripts. They give you the music, everything. Cody Rhodes says, "I'm not coming unless everything I have now, I have over there, and this is how much I want to pay." They say, "Come on, we got you." The dude comes in. He comes in during one of the pay-per-view events. The crowd loses it, and he's been the top babyface ever since then. And guys, the man is now the world heavyweight champion. He was on Good Morning America this morning. He left a guarantee to come here, and now he is known around the world. And he's one of the most popular wrestlers and most recognizable faces in the world. And this is 8 years later. 8 years later. It was up here. He had to change his mindset. He had to change his mindset, and he had to shift his motivation, and he manifested everything. 2 Timothy 1:7. For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power, love, and self-control. This really doesn't have anything to do with directly with mindset, but I just saw this verse and wanted to say it to you guys because we all have spirit, we all have will. I love the fact that he didn't give us a spirit out of fear, not to fear him. Of course, he is a God that you do want to fear, but of power and love and self-control. I don't really know how to really attack that. I think with that, anybody, depending on what they're going through in their life right now, could.
I can get mine without a card. No.
How you doing, Pan Pan?
Inside.
So, like I said, I don't know how to really attack that. I think depending on everybody's personal journey, they can definitely reflect on that themselves. I just wanted to leave you with that. 2 Timothy 1:7, for God gave us spirit, not of fear, but of power and love and self-control. I will tell you how I reflect on that. There's a gentleman from Canada. He's a professor that has been since maybe 2015, I guess, has kind of been excommunicated from Canada. He's really big into, he's written some, his name's Jordan Peterson, if y'all know who he is. He's written some really good books. He's big into God, discusses the mindset, discusses masculinity and femininity. I think I said that right. I probably sound like a tongue twister. Anyways, what he does discuss is the fact of to be a dangerous man is to have self-control. A dangerous man is a good man, and part of that is because of the love, the power that men have, but the love that they also could exhume, and their self-control. He says that's what makes them good men, is the fact that dangerous men can have their self-control. And what he means by dangerous men is we all want to, in a sense, men and women, because women too, because you never want to, what they say, a woman scorn, or don't put a child on farm in front of their mother, right? So I'm saying this as man, as a species, but he says you have to be dangerous because those that provide, those that protect, you have to have the ability to be dangerous. But we have, and through that is the love that we have for those in our family and friends and within ourselves, and we have the self-control to be able to halt that, only use when needed. He also had said, the man interviewing Jordan Peterson had said, well, what about those that, you're saying, I mean, what about those that just don't want to have, don't have the ability, right? Or they're not dangerous, right? Because I'm thinking dangerous, and Jordan Peterson said this: There's a difference between being a dangerous man and choosing not to be violent and a weak man. Because a weak man doesn't know what the power feels like. And a weak people and weak men and women tend to be cruel men and women because they don't understand the fact, they don't know what it's like to have power. They don't know what it's like to have self-control because they're not violent, because it's not, they're not non-violent by choice. It's by nature. So then when they tend to assume some sort of authority or power, they tend to be cruel. Just think about that. So that's what, to me, that's how I interpret it, is the fact that I am somebody that if I need to be, I can be dangerous through what God has given me, the abilities in my life and within myself. But I do have love for everybody around me, and I have the self-control to hold that in. That's just how it's for me. Guys, I want to thank you all again. I hope I wasn't too long-winded for you. I hope I made this a little entertaining with the different stories I had to say and the scriptures and verses I had to say. If y'all have any questions or any feedback, I would love to have it. I guess I could be on here for another minute or two if you want to even put things in the chat. And if not, it has been great talking with you again.
Thank you, Rose Alexander, for those motivation nuggets. Quite an interesting story about WWE there. Quite fascinating. Thank you for that. Are there any questions from the floor or any comments for Rose right here? If you are camera shy, you can put it in the chat box.
Oh, here's some chats, I think. I don't know if that was from earlier or not.
Yes, somebody mentioned about watched WWE when Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan, man, he has a pretty funny story too, man. You know he was 6'8", 300+ pounds, and he was a rock star. He wasn't a band. He wasn't even athletics. Yeah, he was a guitarist. Yeah. Then he got into wrestling. So yeah, Jordan. Oh, I'm glad some of y'all know who Jordan Peterson is. If y'all don't know, look up Jordan Peterson. The man is so emotionally intelligent. I'll just say that he's very amazing to listen to. You could tell when something's close to him because he will get emotional. But he is, like I said, Canada has kind of excommunicated him because he speaks a lot of common sense. But he really just wants the best for mankind, and I love listening to him. So if y'all don't know, just kind of start looking Jordan Peterson stuff up on YouTube or whatnot. You'll really enjoy listening to him.
Great. Sarah is hand up. Please go ahead, Sarah.
No, thank you, Pastor Jamison. Thank you, Rose. It's not really a question, but it's actually kudos to you because it was really motivational. And with the illustration of WWE, yes, we do have access to that and we watch it. We've watched it since we were kids. So that hit close to home, and it's actually good to get to hear someone who went through something and giving you motivation from a personal perspective. It makes it more real and relatable. So thank you so much for taking time to impact that.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that feedback. I appreciate that so much, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. There's another comment in the chat section. No questions here, but just appreciate the verses you provided about transforming my mind. I'll take your advice and I'll think that will help to change my mindset.
Oh, I love it, guys. Thank y'all.
We appreciate the motivation. Thank you so much, Rose.